I'm a cave diving instructor. Through this past of the years, I have been participating in some documentaries. And this one in particular, I think has a better perspective of what is really going on. This work that we did, Flows. Flows had a really interesting origin. It means following the links of water sources. Why do we do this? Why are we so concerned? Why are we so interested? Why do we do this work? Why do we even bother? In my case, in my personal case, there's no choice. I don't think I can go to bed and sleep tight if I don't do what I can do to be able to preserve this area.
Diving cenote manatee can be always surprising. Today, seeing the effect of the tide showed me the real connection in slow motion. When I was diving into the cave from the fresh water, I could see the ocean salt water forming a layer beneath. Traveling from the jungle to the mangrove and then to the ocean put everything on a clear perspective. The quest for the links between the ecosystems made me develop a new idea. Jungle, mangrove, wetlands, reef, open ocean. There are no different ecosystems colliding here. There is really one ecosystem, one unity that contains everything. Water.
I don't believe that we will ever come back to situations that we have seen in, let's say, the films of Jacques Cousteau or others, if we look at the underwater world. Too much is destroyed already. We lost so much. But if we do not want to lose the very base of our own existence, then we have to do something now. And for that, I think, there is a fair chance. We're here in Mexico, we're here in Yucatan, and I think this is very significant because this is Maya country. And we look at the supposedly pristine forests here, the waterways that were partly created by the Mayans, the lagoons and all that. And we have to realize that we're looking at an extinct civilization. So we're seeing the ruins of something that was already there. It was blossoming, it was beautiful, it was a full civilization, and then climate change hit them. I don't know if they tried to counterbalance this in any way. At least they were not able to do it, as we see. And today we're facing a very similar situation, and we should have learned from history.
My name is Luis Leal. I am a cave instructor and I live in this beautiful area with these magnificent places called cenotes. Right here, we are located next to one of the exits to the ocean of the second world largest underground river system. The system we know as Zacactun. Zacactun in the Mayan language means the white cave.
This system has over 250 kilometers of explored passages, all conducting the water through the ocean through places like this one. Cenote Manatee is very special because it has a very interesting diving area located in the middle of the mangrove field. So it gets the water from the jungle, takes them to feed this mangrove field, and it has a passage that conducts, and it's able to conduct divers straight to the ocean. This passage, though, it's not for recreational divers. You have to be specialized and qualified for cave diving to be able to visit this passage and exit in the magnificent Caribbean Sea. This place, it's very representative of what is the link between the mangroves, the ocean, and the jungle.
The underground rivers, they connect under the ground and come into the Caribbean Sea. It's very important to know about this interconnectivity because the rivers can bring into the coral reefs in front of us along the coast of Quintana Roo all kinds of pollutants. In the past 28 years, it has been an incredible transformation of Cancun and surrounding areas. It has grown beyond our expectations. We are now 1 million people. 28 years ago, we were 100,000 people. And it continues growing a lot more.
If you can see here, the karst roof is very thin. So between the level of the ground and the aquifer, there's almost nothing. There is no possible filter that we can have. So in this case, you don't have to be a genius to notice that you cannot put dirty water on the ground because it will go straight to the clean aquifer. The drinking water of the jungle, we can contaminate it so easy because of the sewage systems.
We are in Cenote Angelita. It's an open water cenote. There's 30 meters of fresh water. It's a thick layer of fresh water from the rainfall. And then underneath, it's another 30 meters of seawater that is coming through the porous of the rock. These two waters don't mix because there is a difference in density. Salt water is heavy, so it's in the bottom. And we can see this because there is this interface that looks like a cloud, and it's the halocline, and it's a sulfide layer. There is a lot of dead, fallen trees and branches and soil from the jungle decomposing and creating this mist or clouds of sulfide layer. When you dive in Angelita, you go through 30 meters of fresh water, crystal clear, with a lot of light, and then you see it's like a false bottom, but it's this interface of sulfide layer. And then you go through this cloud, and then you reach the marine water. There is not much light because this cloud is blocking the light of the sun, so it's dark down there. There is no light, there is no photosynthesis, but bacteria are doing chemosynthesis, decomposing the organic matter.
Okay, you see the wetlands over there? There are a huge amount of wetlands in the Biosphere Reserve Siancan. You see the entrance of from the lagoon, that it's connected by that channel?
Yeah, I guess they are the channels that were supposed to be built by the Mayas about 1,000 years ago.
Yeah.
Look at that. How clear is the water? And how big is that lagoon that you can see the effect of the wind, you can see the waves. It is so fantastic. Water is finding its way to the ocean, how everything is in movement, how everything is flowing over there.
You see over there, there is a spot, a green spot with the den over there with mangrove or kind of vegetation, and you see the different color that all those channels have.
I guess we are able to witness here all the evolution of the continent, how the land is growing, how the land, the continent itself and the coast is moving towards the ocean. I think we are witnessing here a process that has taken millions of years, and we are here witnessing all the steps of the process in just a few minutes. Yeah, we are not so far from Punta Alén. I think this area that we are passing is called Boca Paila, and it is really where the lagoons find the way to the ocean through these canals and definitely through the underground aquifer. Look at the reef. Now you can see the depths in the ocean. Now you can see the reef over there.
We are in Siancan Biosphere Reserve that was established in 1986 by the Mexican government and United Nations program, UNESCO, because it's a very particular corner of the earth. There is more than 9 ecosystems, from jungle, forest, to savannas, mangrove, freshwater lagoons, coastal lagoons, underground rivers, the springs, cenotes, and of course the Caribbean and the coral reef, which is part of the Mesoamerican barrier reef, the second largest in the world. Here the water is 1.5 meters depth, and I can see the bottom is crystal clear water. All this catchment area that is catching the rainfall through thousands of years and accumulates in these freshwater lagoons. This is red mangrove, Rhizophora mangle, very important, are nurseries for the life in the ocean. The most important forest for carbon sequestration, very important in this climate crisis we are facing. Now we just entered Chunyakshe Lagoon, which is very long, narrow, freshwater lagoon. You can taste, it's amazing, this fresh water. It's a lot of fresh water discharging from the catchment area of Siancan and surrounding areas, which is also important to protect beyond Siancan Reserve. We are approaching the freshwater upwelling that is discharging the water from the aquifer, the underground rivers from like all this catchment area of Siancan and surrounding areas. So it's fresh water mixing with the water from the ocean and filling this coastal lagoon. When you enter, if you're diving into it, you have to go like 9 kilometers and you will see no other entrance. You have to go back to this spot again. And divers have to use scooters and underwater propulsion vehicles to swim against the current because the flow is very high.
I would like to tell you about this specific place where this fresh and salt water colliding area gets really, really magical. The Chinese garden. You go to the cave area. You make a jump, you connect two lines, and you start getting into this passage. Smaller passage, not really that tiny, but smaller passage. I think we are already over half kilometer inside the system from the entrance. You can start seeing the presence of this salt water there. When you connect to that line, it goes deeper and crosses now really, really, really this level where the fresh and the salt water collides, the halocline. But the halocline over there, maybe because of the shape of the rocks or the way where the passage was formed, make the layer precise, like cut with a knife. You can put your finger and you can see how the finger crosses from the salt water to the fresh water. It's just maybe millimeters, the difference between these two layers of water. You cross that fantastic passage, seeing how the light breaks, how the water breaks into millions of pieces. And then, you pop up again back into the fresh water. After passing this smaller room, you get into a couple of other cracks, and then everything opens on this gigantic room, the Chinese garden. And then the passage goes down again, and you get back to the halocline, this magical place where the salt water is down there, and then you're playing. You can go going up and down, up and down, up and down, like flying over water.
You just come out of the channel, the area is opening up because we are getting close to the ocean. We move more than 30 kilometers and we can feel the size of Siankan. Siankan Reserve, it's very, very big, maybe half of the size of Luxembourg. It's all fresh water, and it's amazing the amount of water this system and the catchment area is discharging to the ocean. The canal we are about to enter, it's a natural canal, but it was modified by the Mayas during the classic period to move all the merchandise from the trading routes from Guatemala, Honduras, and Belize to the ocean, and then to inland, to the Mayan inland cities like Cobá. They were moving salt, they were moving fish, they were moving honey, they were moving jade. There is plenty more to see. We have to move on. There is like 5 kilometers still to go, and we're gonna speed up. Capitán, vamos por favor.
Today we are heading to Limones Reef, which is located inside the National Park of Puerto Morelos. And this is a very special place. It's an habitat that is now protected for 2 years, or a little bit more of 2 years now. This place used to be a touristic site And nowadays it's closed for fishing and it's also closed for any touristic activities. Only research is allowed on this area with a special permit. And the reason why this place is now protected is because we have a lot of coral cover, especially from Acropora palmata, which is the elkhorn coral. And this coral is branched, is very high. You can have structures of more than 3 meters or more than 4 meters. And this coral is in the red list right now, and it also gives a lot of reef structure that helps to build up the reef and also to protect the coastline. Since it is very branched, it stops the force of the storms and the hurricanes.
The water is also at the same time very, very fragile because it's very close to the surface. So it can be easily contaminated with all the development and the not proper waste management from all the garbage generated by the people that live here and all the hotels. We have more than 50,000 hotel rooms only in Cancun. Another source are like many golf courses are being built right now, and they require a lot of nitrogen and fertilizers for keeping the grasses green. And all these wash down, end up in the underground rivers and wash into the ocean.
The artificial wetlands are a very simple way to clean the wastewater, the residential wastewater. And basically what it happens is the wastewater goes to the beginning of the system, which is over there, and it goes with gravity through all these containers. Inside the containers we use these rocks, which are inert, so we don't use any soil, no? So all the nutrients that the plants need, they take it from the flow of water, so they are cleaning it, no? So as the water keeps running, it gets cleaner and cleaner and cleaner. Then we get to this sponge filter, which is another biofilter. You break the flow of the water into many little drops. So each of these drops goes through the sponges. So there are many little microorganisms into the sponges that they keep doing the cleaning, no? the bioremediation. Then we have another artificial wetland, which works exactly at the same at the beginning, but we use a smaller diameter of the rocks, no? So as we keep coming through the system, we use smaller and smaller rocks, so the sediments or the solids stay in between the rocks, and the plants can clean, no, the water that goes through. At the end, we have this charcoal filter, and then we have this container where we collect the water that it's already treated, and we send it back to irrigation. No? So I'll show you the water, how it comes. So a system with this surface of wetland can clean up to 7,000 liters a day, more or less. And this is the quality of the water, no? This system is designed for 14 apartments, but you can scale it for bigger projects.
The most challenging right now is the wastewater management and the coastal development. Those two are the main threats we are facing right now. Wastewater management, because the water that we are using in the urban areas and in the hotel zones is not treated correctly. We are lacking higher standards like the ones in the Cartagena Protocol. Mexico is part of that protocol, but we are not following those standards here in Quintana Roo. And all the water is connected. So the water that is injected underground, it goes to the underground rivers, to the cenotes, and that's connected to the sea. So eventually it will end up in the ocean. And that water that is not treated correctly has a lot of nutrients. And the nutrients is making all these macroalgae grow and grow faster on top of the corals, and eventually they can die. The other threat that we have is the coastal development. We are building hotels in the dune, in the mangrove zone. We are not respecting those laws that we have, and that causes a lot of erosion of the beach. All the sediments end up in the reef. I think corruption in Mexico is one of the biggest issues we face in all the sectors, not only the environmental one. But corruption is not only part of the government, it's also part of our society. As long as we as human beings or the population, we don't stop giving money for building hotels, giving money for having an illegal territory, or giving money just because we were going too fast in the car and we don't want to have a ticket. If we don't stop doing that, we cannot ask to have a correct government. So I think we need to start focusing more on our actions in order to change as a society, and then we can demand to have a better government without corruption.
The Mexican government has recently announced a large extension of their marine protected areas. They will now cover an area of the size of 91 million hectares and effectively cover all the areas around their islands. And marine protected areas are very important as a way to conserve ocean space. And Mexico has made a big step forward, and so we're delighted to hear that. When we look at marine protected areas, we really need to consider its connectedness, both with the rivers, all the activities that come from land into the marine protected area, but as well with the high seas, the areas 200 miles and beyond, because it's that interplay of the currents, the rivers, the water that actually creates this ecosystem, and therefore need to address the challenges wherever they occur for this ecosystem.
We see our own shadow, you see, in the vegetation behind.
Yeah, it's fantastic, huh? The light on this time of the morning is super nice. But look at that. Then suddenly it appears the development again. And the wetlands next to it.
I think that is the part of the fracture, that it goes all around from Holbox to Tulum, and there is a lot of fractures in between and the mangrove. It's developing in that areas, that fractures, because they find water, and when they find water, you see over there.
That's Casa Cenote.
Casa Cenote.
That's Casa Cenote. That's Cenote Manatí. It looks like so isolated between all those big hotels on both sides. It is kind of sad to see that this place that sounds so fantastic with these fantastic animals are just trapped between all this development.
Yeah, but look at the difference between the development of Puerto Aventuras and the houses for the workers that they work there. They don't have any green area over there. They don't have parks. They don't have even I don't see any tree at all. I just see houses, a lot of them. Look at that.
It's pathetic, huh? And it's so big. It's just cement, house. It's so big. It looks the size of Tulum. It's growing every day. It's even bigger than the last time I did the flight a few months ago. These guys are growing really, really quickly. It's so sad. It's so amazing, so close to this huge area The jungle is still pristine. Look at that. Look at that fantastic carpet. You can see those little holes, these little bright holes.
Yeah,
they
I
are
can see it.
cenotes, definitely cenotes. The big cenotes, all this area where all these dive places have been taking people for these visits to see the aquifer. And it's amazing how you can see almost everything untouched.
Legal framework for developing tourism industry still follows the old traditional narrative, which means we need more growth, we need more capital injection into everything, and that will generate wealth for everybody. And it's not only Mexico, it's other countries too, that they should really, or they could reconsider what is really for their own benefit. And of course, big companies bring in millions of tourists and millions of dollars or euros. But look at the rate, how much is really spent there, how much remains in a country. And isn't it better to have maybe a little bit less that remains instead of having huge amounts of money that just pass through and you only live from trickle-down effects. But the trickle-down effect of souvenir shops and selling cigarettes or something, or being taxi driver, is not sustainable at all. In our economies, we are still following the same old rule of getting bigger and bigger, faster, faster, and accumulating capital at a rate that is unprecedented. So currently, we are decoupling the political development from the economic development. And the economic development in the world is not taking into account what the political development wants, what the people on this planet really wants, because that is their expression. In reality, we are still just concentrating capital on the expense of our natural resources, on our natural capital, our human capital, and it won't work. If you look for global solutions, I think the tourism industry is just one example of the way we deal with this planet. We know since many years that we can't go on like this, but at the same time, we are not changing our behavior. One of the real solutions would be to step away from awareness and come to action soon. Because I think we all know what we should do, but we don't do it.
My biggest hope for the future is that we can protect and have sustainable development along with conservation. I think those two things are not separate things, that we can have both of them working together. And the things I had seen right now at my age, I hope that the future generations can see them, because I already know that what I am seeing today is not what I could find 40 years ago.
My ideal protected area would be one that integrates the jungle or forest, the Mayan forest, the aquifer under it, the mangroves that are the ecosystem between the forest and the coral reefs.
Sometimes I get asked what engages people with this big blue area far, far outside the high seas. And what I find is that even small children get it very quickly, and that we all live on one big blue planet. We're all interconnected.
When I submerge in the pure water of a cenote, I feel like I am entering a different world. It is like crossing a portal to another dimension.
I guess this could be why the ancient Mayas thought this was the case. Their mystical underworld, the Xibalba of the sacred book, the Popol Vuh. Traveling through these magical places makes my senses extra sharp. I become hyper alert, but being in such peaceful water also makes me reflect, almost in a strange meditation level. When diving, everything is about time. You have to keep track of it in order to survive. But being underwater can also make time abstract, especially in the caves. Here you lose a sense of time, as no outside factors are disturbing you. In some way, it is a timeless experience. I wonder, does time exist here? I am gliding through water, sliding softly, moving easy and naturally, feeling more than ever that my body is composed mainly by water and just listening clearly to my own breathing. I realize now that time exists even if it doesn't feel like it. I wish then that the time could stand still. I wish I could be able to stop it, but the clock is ticking and time keeps flowing along with the water that flows with me. My worst fear is that the next time that I dive here again, it will not be through the same pristine water. It will be in the water that other humans have taken. Taking another breath of air, I am thinking how we can preserve these incredible underground rivers, how we can make sure that the future generations can enjoy places like this one, not affected by human apathy. And I wonder again, are we still on time to defeat this pathetic chronicle of an announced disaster? I truly and deeply hope we are.